What's up, everybody? We are back, and it's time. Remember there was a Zerg in this group? Well, he's here now. Remember that? A long time ago, there was some Zerg guy, and he died to a Terran, and then it was just nothing but Terrans all day. This is soO's moment to come back, and he's going against ByuN. I don't want to be a doomer, okay, for soO's sake. I actually have a lot of respect for this guy. I actually really like him. I think he's a fun player as a person and stuff, and I've always kind of, in the back of my mind, thought, man, it would be so cool to see him come back and really perform well. Like, what a great way to close the year out. It would be a soO GSL champion.
Oh, that would be insane.
Like, at least the GSL year out, you know what I'm saying? Or did you see him kind of win a major tournament here, as in GSL? But I think it's undeniable. ByuN is just in better shape. ByuN has really stepped it up. I would put him as another one of the real contenders to be a threat out here. I think he stayed true to his style, continuing to be a kind of aggro. He was a little bit too counterattacky, but that's really a TVT thing. When it comes to TVZ, I think he's just good at being aggressive, staying in your face. It's going to be a tough one for soO.
All right, well, the game is loaded up. We're getting ready to start the series that will eliminate one of these players. The winner is going to go on to face Maru. The loser is out of the GSL in the round of 8. soO vs. ByuN begins now.
Different faces.
I wasn't paying attention. What did I miss?
There's sort of a giddiness in ByuN's face, and there's sort of a...
soO is very stoic.
Yeah.
I love how in the studio we actually have this big screen. We could just constantly see the players' faces. It's a very cool setup we have, actually.
Yeah, it actually is pretty awesome.
I never fully appreciate it because I'm always looking at the monitor. our tiny little monitors up here on
I know, yeah.
On stage.
We're casting off of like little game gears up here.
Summer's officially back in Seoul.
Hey.
Tasteless is casting GSL pantsless. You've been exposed.
I am. Well, I've got my nice short shorts. I'm showing off my dancer thighs for sure.
From Sydney, welcome.
If you come here, we have this glass. We're on the second floor. How do I describe this? We're on a balcony, basically.
An indoor balcony.
And there's a glass. They never covered it up, so yeah, you can see my shorts. You can wave high. And you can see that I don't have dress pants on.
Yeah.
But you do.
I'm wearing light fabric. I'm afraid to get sunburned, man. I'm pasty. I'm a pasty nerd. I can't rock the shorts like you.
I got my Milky Whites out. I'm not afraid.
I almost died over the past couple of weeks because I did a short vacation in Vietnam, which is just very hot. A lot of sunlight, and then after that went to Dallas. And I don't know if anyone here has walked around Dallas, but there's not a lot of trees in that city. It's a lovely place, but if you're trying to walk around on foot, especially from the convention center to downtown, oh man, I was sunburned for like 2 or 3 weeks straight.
You can get cooked. You know, it's funny because when we moved to the studio, all these Blizzard people, this is back when Blizzard was like a great company, but they came down and they saw that me and Artosis were in shorts. And they were like, so are you guys, so is that did they let you do that? Or do you, and I was like, we've never asked. We just have been doing it and no one's told us to stop, so we're not going to stop. And they were like, all right.
Well, the day they give us a glass desk at the GSL is the day they're going to start wearing pants.
We're up here at this animal observatory with this glass screen up here. You could see us walking around, but it is more comfortable to cast in comfortable pants. Anyways, in this game, we've got, we've seen this a million times, a Reaper coming in here and harassing soO. I want to see how well soO does in the early game, and if he's a little bit more stable, because he was kind of shaky.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly.
Yeah, I mean, just losing 2 queens and everything else.
Surprisingly, ByuN actually only going for the 3 Reapers, whereas Maru went 4 Reaper in both of the games. In my head, I have kind of a mental concept of ByuN and Maru's TVZ. As ByuN fishes for some more damage here. He's actually going to get some. It's a lot of damage on that queen. Pivoting back into the main base. He might be able to find a drone or 2. Drone's got to get pulled. This is some really nice maneuvering right now by ByuN. He's really utilizing the HP and the grenades on these Reapers. Oh, what a juke! He goes back into the main! And then doesn't get anything, but it was really hype. Oh! Too fancy. I appreciated it, though. That was a cool move. I like the idea. It didn't work at all. It was totally backfired, but
cool
that was
moves,
sick.
yeah. Didn't pay off.
That's like kind of ByuN's play in a nutshell a lot of these times. It's just a little bit too fancy sometimes, you know?
That's why, like, when he does it, he looks like such a genius, and it's so impressive. But
yeah. But, yeah, it is interesting to me. The mental model of Maru as a TVZ player, and he's the guy that goes 3 Reapers, and ByuN's the guy that goes 4, but the role's getting reversed a little bit today. ByuN going into a really fast third command center, as is the meta here in TVZ lately, both in Korea and abroad, I think. And soO playing a lot more conservatively. Notably, Tasteless, you were talking about him, how he's going to approach the early game here in ZVT, and he did not go for that super fast third base. I think he learned his lesson against Maru, and it's like, I'm not going to try that against ByuN also.
I think so.
Just played it very safe, a kind of 2-hatch opening here for soO. And it worked in his favor so far. Didn't take too much damage from the Reapers. Was able to kill one even. And now just kind of safely macroing up into a third base. ByuN on the flip side going into Cloak Banshees, getting stim relatively early. Just kind of playing for map control and a really fast Roach Warren for soO as well. I wonder if he's going to throw down another Engineering Bay, or Evolution Chamber, excuse me, and go for something like a 1-1 Roach timing. But instead it seems like this might be a little bit more tech heavy. We'll see how this goes. The ZVT meta in the wake of Cyril's victory at Dallas has been very interesting to follow over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of other players, notably, I think it was Dark versus ByuN in the KSL, which is a weekly or bi-weekly online cup that is crowdfunded. Dark was doing a Cyril-esque opening, which soO kind of attempted to do in the first series against Maru, which goes for really fast ultras. Like sometimes like sub 8-minute ultraless cavern getting thrown down.
Yeah, it seems like for a while, maybe Terrans were getting a little bit too much of the map for free, and Zergs were, maybe because they were too Roach Ravager or building up onto that, or kind of staying on tech that just didn't allow them to punish that. The ultraless kind of forces you to actually make the Terran really run and unplug him from his position. And so the Ultra Tech is really interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to see that. soO is going into Carapace.
How many kills? Just 3 kills on this?
3 kills. Probably going to get 4 on the Spore Crawler, I would think. This is nice damage already. Oh, he does have a second Evolution Chamber. He's just not researching anything with it yet. Oh, Banshee. Got to be careful there. The Queen might actually be able to chase it down now because of that turn. Yeah, just trying to micro in too many places at once right now. Is able to get a couple more drones here at the third base. There's going to be +1 melee attack coming in there with soO. Infestation pick going down. It might be fast ultras. It's a little reminiscent of the way that we've been seeing Dark play it, the way that we saw Cyril play it at Dallas. And it's a very cool, very fun build if the Ultralisks come online in an efficient way.
It seems like it's a way to kind of punch the Terran in the nose.
Right.
You know, they're getting to stay back. A lot of the you know, this phase of the game was just Terran building up, and Zerg was kind of also just building up, and we wait for Terran to make their moves. And this makes it very different. Now, we've got a push coming here from ByuN. And it's going to hit the fourth base, and the fourth base is just absolutely exposed here.
Ooh.
I think that he went right through all the blind spots on the map, so this might just be killed.
Yeah, it might be. Some Roaches are coming in, though, waiting for more reinforcements. There are more Roaches on the map. They just aren't here just yet. Now they are reinforcing alongside the Queens, and I think that's going to be enough for soO to deflect this attack. Yeah, but ByuN's going to have to retreat away. And on the production top, you see the Hive coming in. It's a little bit later than we've seen other Zergs bring it out, but it is faster than he tried against Maru. And remember, those Ultras, they didn't get quite as much done as they possibly could have in that series against Maru. I think we're going to see more of the potential of soO with this build in this game here against ByuN. I don't think that opening match against Maru was really a good litmus test for where soO is at in ZVT at this stage. And up until this point, he's done a pretty good job of parrying the attacks of ByuN. I mean, the Banshees didn't get too much damage done. He killed one of the Banshees. It was, what, 5 or 6 drones in total, maybe? Reapers and Hellions didn't get too much done either. It's been a pretty strong early game here from soO.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely done everything he needs to do. He's building everything up. He's got his now 4th and 5th base coming up. Doesn't seem like ByuN has a whole lot of room to really do any damage. The creep spread's actually really good, although I think ByuN's going to move in here now and try to clean all this up.
Good move getting all these creep tumors out in the center of the map. But one of the things about this composition that soO is running with is it is very good at taking these early fights against a mostly marine-based army composition. I mean, there are just so many roachers. There's so many roachers with this tasteless.
That's what you should call it. A couple of roachers in here. Oh, dude, he's going to get the melee attack. Wow.
Luckily, it wasn't too far along there for soO, so not that painful. We do have one swarm host in production.
Yeah.
soO did fat finger it.
It's
not just dark.
Yeah, yeah.
Happens to the best of us. And surprisingly, no Ultralisk Caver just yet here for soO. It's just going to very fast Vipers, so he's playing this a bit differently than I was expecting. Still, it is cool to see this very fast hive timing coming in. Yeah, Ultralisk Cavern just then got thrown down on the production tab. And this is the kind of playstyle that if soO is able to get a little bit more momentum going, and he's able to hit a timing attack with a ton of Ultralisks as soon as the Ultra armor upgrade completes, it can be so hard for Terran to actually stop them. Especially when the army composition for Terran is mostly just Marine tank, because the Marines really do not get a lot done against these high armor units like the Roaches, like the Ultralisks. And for now, soO's been doing a great job of just kind of controlling the game. He hasn't taken too much damage. It hasn't been pretty at times, but the defense overall has been solid. And
we basically got to, you know, a late game position here.
Yeah.
soO's looking a lot cleaner. I think he's gotten a lot of the kind of nervousness out of his way. We did see a Baneling hit Destructible Rocks.
That scared me.
Yeah, mark that up on your bingo card here.
And soO right now is just looking for a fight. He is maxed with a lot in the bank. He wants to remax on Ultras now that that Cavern is done. And so he needs an engagement to happen. He wants to be favorable with ByuN with really an interesting counterattack right now. Look at this, so many Marines just diving into the fourth base. There's only a couple of Banelings right now. They do get relatively good hits as the second stim comes through.
You know, it's crazy. This got way less drones than I thought. But the positioning now here is so good. It's going to trade out pretty nicely versus the Zerglings.
Yeah, not as good for ByuN as I actually thought it was going to be. This is a lot of supply also getting freed up for soO to remax on Ultras. This actually could be a bit of a win here for soO, as strange as that sounds.
It is also reminiscent of his TVT fails. Like,
yeah.
he kind of almost does like a Zergling run by, and then he can't get out. And then it's just a bad trade.
All right.
Like, the way Terran's supposed to be in moments like that is they stim, they get in, they kill something, they pick up right before they don't have optimal damage.
Yeah, and ByuN
then you do it over and over and over again.
And he dove in. He didn't get that many drones. In total, 16 of them have gone down, but soO's been able to re-drone back up to even with the Terran. The expansion didn't get killed. All the medevacs went down. ByuN did buy himself a little bit of time to get Ghosts out on the field, which he does kind of need against the composition that soO is running. But on paper, it wasn't a very good trade there for ByuN, and now soO is going to have 4 Ultralisks coming online in just a moment. The thing is, it's a little bit slow here for soO. I think that we're not going to see the kind of engagement where soO just dives in on the Terran with the Ultralisk and ends the game straight up. ByuN has been able to buy time with a counterattack like that one to get 12 siege tanks on the map. Ghost production is gearing up right now. We have 4 on the map, 4 more about to join them in a moment. Command centers are getting thrown down in front of the third base to kind of create choke points. More drops are happening on the map to kind of force soO back with more sections of his army, and as a result, I don't think we're going to have the real explosive attack that soO wants. But still, ByuN has to be careful with his composition. These Ultras are really powerful at this stage in the game.
Yeah, and this can really uproot the Terran's position. It's a lot scarier. Expansion over here onto the Terran side of the map. This leaves only one base left to be taken here near the bottom center. Both sides are maxed out. So something needs to happen here. My bet is it's going to be Zerg attacking in first. Now, you know, the position that ByuN has here is pretty good. Like at 6 o'clock where we were just looking, there are a lot of command centers here. Those could be turned into orbitals. You could even make like more than one planetary or something like that. Just make it really hard to break these positions open. That could be a situation that would make the Ultras maybe not able to trade favorably in here. And then Terran just has to kind of poke out from their bases and let the Zerg drain the map while they, you know, a Maru win, basically.
Mm-hmm. That's basically what ByuN is doing, too. He's even throwing down another command center in front. He is just completely locked in on what soO is doing in this situation.
soO is getting an absurd amount of minerals and gas banked.
Mm-hmm. And he's doing something really smart, too. For Zerg right now, if you want to win in this stage of the game here on Oceanborn, it's going to go to the late game. This is basically going to turn into an exhaust TVZ unless one of these players bundles something horrendous. And so the win condition for soO is to mine ByuN's side of the map. And that's why him taking this base all the way down to the bottom left corner is so pivotal, because if soO is able to mine the minerals and the gas, then suddenly the map becomes a lot easier for Zerg to win. He doesn't need to be supremely cost efficient against the Terran. He can have some level of cost efficiency that is less than the Terrans and still win because he's gathering those resources that ByuN's never going to be able to get his hands on. And now this attack commencing on the 5th base of ByuN. This planetary will get taken out. Most of the siege tanks, remind you, are in front of the 3rd base and the 4th base right now for ByuN. This expansion here is a little bit more of an auxiliary base where ByuN is not going to commit a lot of resources to defending.
He loses it, but it's easy to reclaim.
Yeah.
soO needs to pretty quickly get drones mining at these exterior bases. This is maybe one of the more important parts.
I mean, he's at 90 drones. I wouldn't mind him just transferring drones from these more central bases.
Give up the drones at your 4th base and send them all over there, because you want to mine those minerals so that they can't get it, and gas and everything else.
It's kind of, and it sounds weird to say this because it doesn't seem that significant, but it almost feels like a win condition for the Zerg to mine these bases out. Because so many TVZs we've seen, the Terran just gets half the bases and they win because their army is 10% more cost efficient.
Right.
Or 20% more cost efficient, and the Zerg just runs out of minerals, runs out of gas. So I really want to see soO try and saturate those bases. He is taking a gas in the bottom left, so hopefully some more drones will be going that way. But
yeah, it's a little bit scary when you see him take these bases and he hasn't done anything with it. I guess it's also scary that, you know, there could be a drop that would just kill all the drones, but
there still is an angle for soO to just end this game straight up, though, Tasteless. I mean, we keep talking about the exhaust TVZ, but soO right now has he has like 12,000 resources in the bank. ByuN isn't even maxed. soO could throw this army away and remax like twice more.
Yeah, and I feel like that's inevitable.
Yeah, and he's going to come in right now.
Act 1, go!
Blinding Cloud's going to come in on the siege tanks. Baneling's rolling in. Will hit the planetary, mining from this expansion. It should go down, and indeed it does. And it's not a very cost-efficient trade here for soO, but look at the bank that he's got. 10,000 minerals, 4,000 gas. ByuN, yes, he is going to go for this counterattack, but the remax from soO is going to be absolutely massive. I say that and we look at the production tab and it's 70 Lings and 6 Hydras. It doesn't feel that exciting, but still, he has the bank, Tasteless.
He can do it. He can absolutely do it. And ByuN, I mean, he's basically just been floating at the bottom of his minerals. Like, he's maxed out again, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be his turn for a while.
Yeah, and I want to see soO just continue to...
I assume it's going to be a lot of Banelings here.
Yeah, I'm assuming the same thing.
He probably wants to really just fracture the position wide open. There's a ton of tanks, by the way. Like, just so many tanks kind of chain linked together here. As in, one is in range of the other, and that's in range of another. Kind of reaching all the way back into where the 3rd base is.
Yeah, this is an insane level of tower defense being played right now by ByuN as another engagement comes in. soO trying to get the connection on the Ghost. ByuN with a hot pickup, able to avoid it.
Another base being taken up here at the top. And I gotta say, it's been a little bit of a slower TVZ in general compared to, like, if we were seeing someone like Maru play here.
Right.
I feel like ByuN specifically has just sort of been quiet on the map.
He's doing kind of a Maru-esque style, but with a little bit less map presence.
Yeah.
And I think it's because the style that Maru plays and is so good at playing and is famous for playing, it's what makes his TVZ, you know, always top 2 in the world at any given moment in his career, basically, for the past 5 or 6 years. It's very hard to do. It's hard to play the game of having enough defense back at home that Zerg's not going to run you over and also be able to poke and prod at the Zerg while expanding across the entirety of the map. It's very multitasking intensive, and you really need to have a good mental map of where the game should go. And it's hard to execute, and that's why ByuN, I think his play feels a little bit more slow here and is a little bit more reserved on defenses. soO, once again, attacking in. Those Banelings trying to find the connection. Siege Tank's getting good shots off on them.
Okay.
And soO is not being very cost-efficient with these attacks.
It doesn't feel like soO kind of knows how to engage post-maxed out game, because this game looked like it could be very much in soO's hands. Like, there was just so much of a range inside the game where he could play through this and do this, and I feel like we're starting to see that go away. He's just lost his base at the top right. Now, that's not the end of the world, but ByuN is taking the bottom left. The Remax here, I don't know how good it's going to be. He's got Ultras. He's got 30 Banelings coming.
But the defense for ByuN is just so rock solid. He's adding in more Liberators, getting a Fusion Core, 3 more Command Centers.
Yeah, he's kind of just like filling in all the you know, ticking all the boxes, I guess is a better way to put it, for what he needs here.
I almost feel like, oh, really good fungal right there by soO. The Hydras are able to get one in the Medivacs. It's a nice pick off, but I mean, soO just needs to find a way to get more damage done. It's just so hard with, what, 20 Siege Tanks on the map? There's 19 right now, Tasteless. 10 Ghost Siege Tanks being produced 3 at a time. I mean, it's just such a hard angle for Zerg to attack into. Look at this setup. I feel like I'm watching Uthermal fight against 7 insane Zerg AIs right now with his base defense. It's just ridiculous. It's planetaries and missile turrets and nothing but siege tanks and ghosts. And these small hit squads of like double medevac units and these very expendable Hellbats. ByuN is basically no bank, but he doesn't need it. soO can't penetrate him.
I mean, that's going to be the issue, because whenever you see these positions, you have to remember that basically the Terran will eventually get those bases out there on the map.
Nice pickoff, by the way, from soO. Coming in with the Blinding Clouds means those ghosts cannot escape. The ghost count is really low right now.
It is.
Oh, I love the Banelings. How is that not enough Banelings to kill that ghost? That's crazy. That's insane to me.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, the issue is going to be, I think, that basically Zerg will mine out the map before the Terran will. Terran kind of looks like they're behind, and on some metrics they are, but on a map with finite resources, which is all the maps in StarCraft, if they're evenly split, like as in you can kind of draw a line, in this case diagonally from the top right to the bottom left, and say, okay, blue gets these bases and red gets this. For the most part, I know that like right now there is a base that soO has that's not being mined from, that's on Terran's side of the map. Overall, though, Terran will get that, which means that Zerg can just burn through their minerals a little bit more quickly. Now, that's not necessarily going to happen here, but it does feel like it's going in that direction. And ByuN's going to need some good trades. I mean, those Infestors that were killed, they got no value. And so, you know, this all begins to add up and becomes more and more evident as the game gets further along.
Yeah, and ByuN has basically worked his way into a position where the game has become very simplified with his defense so rock solid on the right side. He just has to focus here on the left, but he's getting caught out of position again. His Blinding Cloud's huge on those siege tanks. There's nothing to lift up the ghost, so the Banelings are going to connect. This is one of the wins that soO needed, as ByuN's supply plummeting right now as the Ultras stream in. More ghosts on the right side are able to defend those bases, but this expansion absolutely getting taken out. And soO, yes, he's dropped to 120 supply, but he still has the bank to make this work. And as long as he's able to keep ByuN on just these 5 bases, I think he's going to be okay. There is still a world where soO is able to win this one.
Yeah, I think so. Well,
ByuN is throwing away a little bit too many ghosts, in my opinion.
We could even have a game where ByuN just controls the bottom left for a little bit and then takes the top right. But, dude, there's drones mining there. That's what we were talking about earlier. ByuN is low on supply and low on money. It's very different from soO, who I think soO is almost deliberating on what he needs to kind of stock up on next. Yeah, because whatever he wants, he can get. The next attacker at the bottom left could be pivotal.
Oh, I think it's going to be, because soO is getting very low on gas. After this Remax, there's only about 1,000 gas in the bank, and he is barely mining any. I think he's only just now taking geysers at some of these extra bases. The 1 o'clock base still does not have the gas geyser taken, so I'm worried for soO. If he has a bad trade here, the Remax, he might only be able to afford a couple Ultras and nothing but Lings. And I don't know if that's going to be enough against the defense that ByuN has back at home.
Okay, a scan here, and he's going to move in. Can ByuN hold on?
All right, let's
see
if there's a
fungal.
fungal. Oh, big fungal on all the ghosts. The Banelings are able to connect. So many ghosts get taken out, and the Banelings, there's enough of them to survive to take down the siege tanks, as well as this base once again in the bottom left gets taken out. And soO with a really big win on the left side.
Yeah, and that was huge. Now, a lot of supply was lost on both sides. Things are beginning to even out, but the base has been denied. A scan here confirms that soO is already in ByuN's side of the map. It really is going to have to just be a game of, well, I think that's a smart move to try to at least just kill the drones off. But ByuN needs to, like, take this bottom left base and secure it. He needs to deny the mining here, and, you know, the Liberators could basically do that. That's funny. He draws them into the siege tank fire. Didn't see that coming. But, yeah, the denial there. But I'm worried that with the amount... Now, look, soO spent all of his gas. So he's just got minerals. Zerglings aren't that good in this position. But can ByuN reclaim this and hang on?
He might be able to. The army that soO has is not very strong right now, and the fact that he basically had a remax on mostly speedlings with a couple of ultras like we were talking about earlier means that he didn't really have the larva to do a full remax. He's still only sitting at 150 supply because he's waiting for the next injects to pop. And this is going to mean that ByuN has a lot more time to regain his composure on the left side, to pivot some of the defense that's anchored the right side of his expansions over here to the left. And I think that's what we're seeing him do a little bit as more Liberators and Siege Tanks come in. I mean, ByuN for a long time has just had the majority of his Siege Tanks and Libs on the right side defending that expansion so that it simplifies the game, so that he doesn't need to really worry about that side of the map. He just needs to focus on the left, but soO has been exploiting that by hammering this bottom left base. And I like that ByuN has been pivoting a little bit more into this corner because, as you said, Tasteless, it is so pivotal that he's able to gather these resources to get closer and closer to max, because at this point for ByuN, you need to kind of take it one base at a time, and these kind of drop positions are really good, but if you lose the bottom left base, you basically lose your income. There's very little minerals and gas left in any of these other expansions on the map.
The Lings are going to come down here. The medevac basically can't pick this up without the Queen shooting it down, so he loses those Marines. Supplies build up to be even for now. And, you know, it did seem like soO... Now, this next attack, we got to watch this. This is big. Not a lot of gas remaining here for soO, by the way. If he comes in here and doesn't succeed, it's going to be hard for him to build up into an army that can break this again. It's an orbital and not a planetary.
What does this drop to? Ghost in a Hellbat?
Yeah. I guess you just take what you can get over there. This is so silly.
No, clearly the Ghost sniped the Queens, and then the medevac is safe. The Hellbat can take care of the drones. It's brilliant. It's such a funny drop. It's such a ByuN drop, too. All right, well, soO now pivoting over to the left side. ByuN's army is right here in the center. No fungals to be found here on the Ghost. Snipes are coming in on a ton of these Corruptors, but they are able to evacuate at least most of them. Only one or two Corruptors getting taken down.
The Hellbats are actually taking this base out.
Wow. Yeah, this is big. If this expansion goes down, this is ByuN's next natural expansion. He has to expand over here to the bottom left corner again.
This is going to go down 100%. It's going to be nothing but Broodlings left over there. Then they're going to go down too. And now, I mean, we need to do like a base check here. He's got that, but that's always kind of off and on.
It's basically just...
That's basically gone.
The top right and the bottom left. The two bases in the top right and the two bases in the bottom left. And the ones that are center are still mostly full, maybe 60 or 70%. But especially on ByuN's side of the map, there's basically nothing except that bottom left expansion. He's very low on cash. And soO, too, it almost seems like he's a little bit stumped in terms of what to build at this stage. He's at 152 supply because, well, not because he's broke, but because he doesn't really know what would be ideal in this situation. I love this move coming in, by the way. Finally taking advantage of ByuN with this really greedy siege tank positioning.
Yeah, I mean, that's a win for sure. Zerg's at 129 supply. Big coffers, deep pockets, and able to remake an army. I do feel like we're kind of seeing in this game, it really exhibits why players like Solar or Dark are so much better at this style of play versus top players. By the way, I think ByuN has done a pretty good job, but you can see the difference between like him and a Maru here, right? This just seems kind of like a slower, maybe more conservative, not as fast Maru, which is kind of different from the ByuN I'm used to in a lot of these mid-game pushes and crazy drops, but this does require a different approach and a different mindset. But soO is not able to do what he needs to do with his armies. And now we have what we almost never see, which is ByuN is actually going to grow into the Zerg side of the map in the bottom left. And although Terran isn't pushing up into the top right to take the base that we would, in air quotes, say is his base, Zerg's also not able to mine from it without losing workers constantly.
Nice abducts on two Ghosts.
Yeah.
Able to get a siege tank as well. These are really good pickups right now for soO. This is the kind of cost efficiency that he needed. He's been lacking
serious
all game.
Value. Yeah.
Ton of SMEs coming into this bottom left base. And as you were saying, Tasteless, if ByuN is able to fully mine from that bottom left base, despite these trades, at least for the past couple of minutes, going in soO's favor, he very well could still win this game. I mean, the endgame armies are more cost efficient for Terran when Zerg has to attack into them. And so ByuN from this position could basically just continue to try and play the exhaust game. But right now he is teetering a little bit on the edge because he doesn't have that bank. He still isn't maxed yet. He's really hurting for gas. Whereas soO, yeah, he isn't maxed, but keep in mind, he's very low drone count. His army supply is massive at 118, and he's still trying to figure out what he wants to spend the rest of this larva on. I think he just made a decision. The Greater Spire getting morphed in here, the natural expansion. He wants some Broodlords. 5 Corruptors already on the field, so he's just saving that supply for the Broods. And from soO, I wonder if at this stage he is content with his position, that he's been cost efficient enough with the abducts, that he has been able to mine enough of these center bases that he can just play for the Broodlords and try and win that game. Because normally I feel like Zerg is a little bit more on the clock, but these abducts have been so good on the right side over the past few minutes. He's gotten like 4 or 5 ghosts. He's gotten 3 or 4 siege things at least. Some medevacs as well. Okay. This is why ByuN is basically no gas.
By the way, there's more minerals than I actually realized over here. I mean, they're almost mined out, but if you were to have a couple minutes of that with drones, you would have quite a bit. So this is getting worse.
It's a couple thousand minerals, maybe.
We're going to, I think, see soO die out here.
I don't know. I feel like soO could hold on. I think he's going to remax once these ultras, or not the ultras, once the Broodlords come in with a Greater Spire.
I could be wrong, but
I don't think ByuN can kill him. I don't think ByuN can kill him with his army.
Well, you might be right, and also ByuN's position might be flimsy. I feel like technically Terran can't have this much of the map and manage.
I think soO just needs 1 win because ByuN cannot remax.
This
is the only gas that he has. Is down here in the bottom left. There's like 4 geysers in total here for ByuN. He's gathering 600 Vespene gas a minute. The Terran army is really only supply efficient and cost efficient if it has gas. That's one of the reasons why in most TVZs, getting the 9th and 10th Vespene geysers, getting Terran up to 5 bases is really the critical benchmark for whether the Terran can play an exhaust TVZ because it takes so much gas to get the game online.
Still no mining over at this base.
And this looks really scary for soO. He's still sitting at 150 supply, but if he maxes, he goes up to 160
but he's at 150 supply and he's not maxing.
Yeah,
I mean, this is what alarms me about it, right?
It's odd for sure.
He's sitting there.
Okay, the Broods are coming in.
Okay, now he's spending it.
Now he's going to max. I think he's almost been doing some Sun Tzu-esque move where he's just like, I am going to feign weakness and make ByuN really focus in on the Ghosts, on the Siege Tanks, on the Liberators, on my army on the ground. And then I will have this huge bank, this huge remax of Broods that ByuN will not be prepared for because, again, soO basically only needs to win 1 big fight.
I do love the usage of the Hellbats here.
That's good.
Because of the fact that there's just going to be a mineral surplus. It's like, actually, these work great. Okay, so the Broodlords are out. They're pushing from this side.
Oh, the snipes could be huge, though. There isn't a lot to support the Broods. Gotta be careful, soO.
Yeah, that's really bad. That's a lot of kills there. I know some ghosts were wiped out as well.
I almost feel like
driven back.
I feel like soO should just get his entire army and focus on the left side right now. I really feel like that's the play.
I don't know why he's pushing here. Like it's like literally Terran's up here. Are you kidding me?
I think it's because soO basically just spent his entire bank. I mean, this is a very expensive army that soO is maxed on. This is what you see is basically what you get. He has no income besides this expansion left, so I understand him being hesitant to move in, but I don't think there's a win condition if you only focus on the right side. I almost feel like soO had this game in his grasp, but it's getting to the point where it has slipped away. Because with ByuN inching forward into this expansion with so many minerals left, this is
well, I mean, I just feel like we're almost seeing soO like tunnel vision, like he's stuck over here.
Yeah,
I think we're seeing a little bit of the lack of expertise of the late game. I mean, it's kind of showing. And now, I mean, ByuN is just kind of, I don't even blame him, right? I think he's just like, okay, there's bases here. He's not attacking me. He's not trying to stop me for some reason. I also positionally appreciate that soO knows if he leaves that base, this base is going to get counterattacked and hit. I get that, but I think being frozen, being paralyzed on the map is a problem in of itself.
I think if soO could have seen what we see here as the observers of the game where we have complete map view, we can see ByuN's bank, he would have probably gone for that play where he just goes for one big fight, tries to siege down that left side, because really if that happens, the right base doesn't matter quite as much anymore. Yeah, you lose that base, but ByuN literally couldn't remax at one stage in the game. He had like 200 gas in the bank. But now the game has gone to a point where ByuN has a bank superior to the Zerg. He has a better army than the Zerg. He has more army supply than the Zerg. And barring some miracle, I do not see how soO's going to be able to come back in this one. I mean, the Ghost even coming in with more snipes on these broods, just devastating. And soO's going for the fight that he needs, but it's a little bit too late, I think, Tasteless.
Yeah, I mean, this is too late. I think this is kind of a tragic game because soO, I think, had the tools at his disposal, but wasn't fast enough, wasn't decisive enough. And ByuN played kind of a scrappy game. He was cornered for most of this.
Yeah.
And, you know.
I mean, it's easy for us watching this, I mean, casting it and watching it at home to scratch our chins and be like, oh, you should have done this instead of this.
Yeah.
But when you're actually in the booth in a situation like this one,
sure,
with so much on the line, with a fog of war, it is really tough to make these calls.
I've got compassion for him, but yeah, I think it's undeniable that he's sort of, the paralysis was real.
Yeah, it absolutely was. I really do think there was a window where soO could have won the game, but
yeah,
this is the kind of thing where you look back at the replay or you watch the VOD later as the pro and you're like, oh, that was the chance and I missed it. And it is so hard in the moment to find it. Yeah. And even then, I don't think it was a sure thing. I think he had a good chance, but it's not a guarantee. And so now we're just seeing soO slowly bleed out. I think he's coming to terms with this loss as the Brewlord's coming with an engagement again. The fungal does pop, but there's basically nothing left here for Zerg.
I'm curious what Game 2 is going to look like because this is a devastating loss.
Yeah, it hurts.
GG. This is the kind of loss you'd like to end the series on, not start it.
That's a painful way to begin the series. And soO played a pretty good game. I mean, remember the position he got in the early game? He had, like, what was it, like almost a 10 or 12K bank? It was so big, I don't even remember how large it got. No, it against ByuN, who was basically broke.
It was over 10K.
But had secured 5 bases, and then he could just never breach it.
Well, he just, look, you know, there is a whole skill set into getting the map and starting to have the max out and getting all your geysers and throwing hatcheries at their expansions. And it seems like he got that far, and I think we've all experienced this in certain matchups. So you're like, oh, I know how to do this part, but now you have to play this whole other game, which is resource dumping into specific units and plowing them into important positions, and then remaxing again and doing it again and kind of leveraging your position. Because if you don't, Terran will you know, drain you of your side of the map, and it becomes easy. And what's weird is that was frankly a pretty poor game from soO when we got to that point. He literally had minutes where he sat on minerals and gas and kind of hovered, like more than once. Periods where he just sort of, he got to like 155 supply. ByuN is not even maxed back out and just wasn't sure what to make. I know there was a period where a Greater Spire was making, so I understand banking that, but there was a couple moments where he just sort of froze, for lack of better words. And ByuN did not. ByuN was very quick to kind of move back out and rebuild the command center. And he even looked over there, he goes, man, his base is exposed. All right, well, we're going to drop some Hellbats over here. And even killed the other base at the bottom left off with Hellbats. And then he expanded there. And then he did it again. He moved up into the middle of the map. It was just this weird moment where you just saw him keep going over and over and over into that position where soO just kind of sat there. And there is a, I think we're, oh no, we're actually going to get back into the game here. Okay, the game is loading. I think soO requested a short break to just kind of clear his head out. Anyways, guys, post-youth, let's get into this game 2. Top right, soO. Bottom left, ByuN. I just want to keep expanding off the ideas in that last game. Like, yeah, I mean, soO's good. He is a good player, but he's incomplete in some of these situations.
You could see in certain stages of the game, soO was playing really well. I mean, it wasn't perfectly clean.
Ooh,
oh, that's nice.
Really good.
You better frame that. That's a good try.
Yeah, that's excellent.
But going back to what you were saying earlier, Tasteless, soO played certain sections of that game so well. The fact that he was able to find himself in a position where he had a 10K plus bank against a ByuN who was basically broke.
Right.
Although ByuN had secured 5 bases, he was basically broke.
Yeah, well, he didn't. Well, he didn't have a whole bunch of savings, right? I mean, the money is coming in; he's spending it. But yeah, there's a real problem here.
soO had navigated up until that point so well, and as you said, from that position, I feel like it really was winnable if he was able to. I mean, you have a couple paths forward from that spot, right? You can either continuously hammer on the Terran and try and end the game before they get a 6th space. You can try and just continuously attack either the 4th or the 5th to keep Terran from those extra 2 Vespene geysers. They just really leverage the bank that way. But with ByuN as neatly tucked in as he was, I mean, it truly did feel like a tower defense. He had so many planetaries, so many turrets, so many siege tanks. It was a more turtley Terran than we even see Maru play in TVZ. It seemed like soO was almost stumped about what to do in that stage of the game, and that's one of the struggles for somebody even coming back after as long as soO has been back from the military service, is to flesh out every aspect of your game as a pro gamer, and all 3 matchups takes so much work, especially in a meta that continues to evolve. And you can really tell that soO is incomplete. So I'm hoping here in game number 2 and in game number 3, if it goes that far, soO, nice start here for ByuN. That's a good catch on that.
Yeah, that's
drone.
A bad sign.
But I'm hoping that soO is able to take better advantage of his strengths as a player, because his early and mid game seemed really strong. And here on Post Youth, it can be hard for Terran to secure a 5th command center. This is one of the maps, if soO did his homework, that ByuN lost to Dark when Dark did one of those 8-minute Ultralisk Cavern rushes off of Roach Ravager. If soO does his homework and he sees that, he might see that as a weakness here in ByuN's play and trying to capitalize, but I mean, only time will tell. Those... Oh, ByuN? Oh my god, 1 HP.
You know...
What a heart attack.
I just worry that that last loss that soO had, I mean, when you're playing at home, that's the one where you turn your computer off after.
Yeah, it is.
That
like,
is the one where you're like, okay, I can't do this. And it's like, no, you're not out of this. By the way,
this is bullying.
Reaper is just not dying. It's like the Bruce Willis Reaper. It's like bleeding to death the whole game, but it just never actually dies.
Yeah, that's tough for soO, especially after the series against Maru, which really wasn't close, to be frank. But I mean, you're up against Maru, one of the best TVZ players in the world, if not the best. Really, only Serral. Serral's the only player in the world that can play a ZBT against Maru and make him look like a fool instead of look like a fool himself, right?
Yeah.
So you can't really knock soO too much for that. soO wants this Reaper so bad. But you're absolutely right. After losing that series against Maru, it's kind of forgivable. But to then come back against ByuN and in the first game lose in such a heartbreaking fashion, where you were in such a good position to start things off. I don't think the wall is going to come through. These 4 Hellions getting their way to the main base. There's only 2 lings on the map for soO. All of the Queens were in the front line. 4 drones already getting taken out. And the damage is piling up now. ByuN pivoting over to the gold base. The drones are lining up. The evolution chamber is going to block the path off. A lot of damage being done by ByuN. soO barely able to hold on defense, and that could have been so much worse for the Zerg.
Yeah, it was actually a decent hold after they got in the base. It's too bad the Evo chamber wall didn't even get up.
Given the circumstances, that was a lights out hold. I mean,
I thought it might have been like even 10 or 11 drone kills there, but
yeah,
it's still bad.
It is bad.
It's still bad. You know, that kind of goes back to the Reaper run by that Maru did to soO earlier today. They're kind of looking at how soO behaves on the map, and they're almost like baiting him into these bad positions and then just doing run-bys.
You could tell how bad soO wanted that Reaper, right?
which we don't have that often in GSL, by the way. People are pretty good at not getting tripped up.
Game quieting down a little bit now. soO going once again into the double evolution chamber. ByuN landing the 3rd command center down the low ground. Powering up to, I think, that's barracks number 4 and 5 here for ByuN. With 1-1 underway, and I'm guessing once these 2 medevacs pop here for the Terran is when the aggression will start ramping up again. What I really have my eyes set on is whether soO is going to throw down an infestation pit in the next 15, 30 seconds, because that'll tell us that he's going to go for the Ultralisk build again.
So this build, obviously both sides get gold minerals, like very early on, basically for free. Now, generally that lends itself to like a little bit more roaches and a little bit more marines, but I feel like this might just be better for Terran on this map. I'm glad we had this map. I want to kind of figure the game out a little bit more. And I think you can only do that with new maps like this. By the way, nice Ling run by, but hold
it's
up.
dangerous. There's basically nothing at home to defend except these roaches that are about to pop. So ByuN taking the good trade that he can as he can trade it. Gets that high energy queen out immediately. Nice micro by soO pulling back with a low HP queen. And also the counterattack. Look at that, 13 SCVs went down. That actually went really well for soO. I felt like that was very dangerous, but he just barely threaded the needle on that defense.
You could see both players were definitely just watching that attack at the Zerg base, because when we went back, there was nothing left. All those SCVs have been wiped out. Now, I think there's still chances for ByuN to be aggressive and do some real damage here on the map.
Yeah, that was a big momentum swing here for soO.
Yeah, that was very nicely done. Getting those worker kills is huge.
And no infestation pit, no hype tech underway here for soO, so he's just going to be playing Roach Ravager, and I wonder, off the momentum of that early attack, whether he's just going to go for a 1-1 timing. It's a lot of roaches in production, I think. 74 drones. Let's see if he cuts or if he decides he's going to pivot into Hive. I really want to see this production tab.
You want this tech,
I'm staring at it so
State
bad,
is trying
man.
to will this tech into the game.
I'm trying to will the observer into the production tab is what I'm trying to do. I want to see what soO's game plan is so bad in this moment. ByuN coming in again into the natural expansion. Nice defense by soO. Focus firing down the medevacs means that ByuN's going to have to evacuate before he can lift off all these Marines. And again, ByuN just getting his army supply shaved away. More roaches in production. 16 more roaches in production.
So, yeah, I was saying earlier that like gold bases tend to just lend to more Roach Ravagers. So is there like maybe a battering ram attack that you could have with Roach Ravager? You just have so many corrosive vials and so many roaches that you kind of trample the Terran in their position.
Yeah, soO isn't playing this as all-in as we've seen Zergs do in the past. He's already going for +2 Carapace, for instance. He's not just doing some kind of 1-1 all-in. But players like Rogue, actually at Dallas, kind of surprised a lot of people with these 1-1 Roach Ravager timings that we haven't seen in a long time, but they are still pretty good. The thing is, ByuN has a really good defensive setup with these siege tanks. Is it going to be enough? He might have to evacuate the third base. Siege tank getting repositioned closer to the natural expansion. ByuN has to be very careful, and he's making it hard for the Zerg to attack in.
I only see one queen, so that might have just been a misclick. I thought he might have queens like some kind of weird all-in.
And Roaches and Ravagers continuing to push forward. More bile is going to come down on that siege tank soon, I hope. It's getting so much damage done.
Yeah, the supplies can be a little bit deceptive here. It looks like there should be enough Marauders that over time he could just start to chip away at this.
Yeah.
And, you know, one thing about, well, I guess he doesn't have the concussive shells yet, but wait, there were queens sent here. What?
Yeah, this is a little bit interesting. I mean, there's no overlords to drop creep. Feels a little bit odd with that transfuse,
I was wondering
right?
if he would want to transfuse the
exactly, that's what I was thinking.
Ravage. Well, I just don't know why else you'd have like 5 queens down here, but
I guess the good news is that Roach Ravager is not very larva intensive, so those injects not happening doesn't hurt that much here for soO.
Not a big deal. He's back to 190 supply.
Yeah.
But Zerg has to make this work.
Yeah, he's not all in, but he wants more damage done for sure.
Yeah,
you really got to get more damage done here as soO. More biles coming down. We'll be able to take down that siege tank, although, okay, a little bit slow on the biles.
Yeah, the problem is when the Marauders in the mix, you can kind of finesse the position.
Especially with the medevac count. Okay. Especially with medevac count being as high as it is, tasteless. Oh, good biles landing on those medevacs as ByuN kind of stutter-stepping his way into them, and we might be reaching a bit of a breaking point. ByuN is losing a lot of workers. The bio's actually even connecting with some of the bio, too. There's only a handful of bio units on the ground. soO might have just barely edged this out.
I think you might be right.
20 more roaches in production. 5 of them just popped. +2 Carapace is done, so that's going to mitigate a lot of the damage here, especially from the Marines. And soO, I think if he plays this safe, if he just continues to chip away at this command center and drops these biles, he should be able to unseat this third base. And I don't know if ByuN can recover from that position. soO just has to be very careful not to overextend.
Now, again, if Terran can actually start to win this fight, the counterplay could be huge. But I think that right now, it's really all going to be about ByuN actually surviving here. No drones at the gold base. Oh.
He already tasteless.
Not so fast. But yeah, more Ravagers being made.
Yeah, the Ravagers are really the unit with their higher range that are going to be able to take down a lot of the bio.
Terran is getting bio upgrades, by the way. Like, continuing to this whhole game.
Is 3-3 coming soon?
Yeah.
You think? Oh, it's halfway done, you're right.
Yeah, it's halfway done. So, like, there is a world where, like, Terran, as Artosis would say, wins in an honorable way. Like just surviving all these attacks and eventually coming out.
35 SCVs, though. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, he's so low. It's only Mules mining right now. Every time the Roaches all disappear, you got to remember the Ravagers actually fall pretty fast. One issue is that the medevacs don't have any energy. So you're not really seeing a true, infantry medevac army. It's,
Yeah, the healing is mitigated a little bit by the low energy. More Biles coming in. Oh, he's trying to corner them with the Lings. I love that play. Only a couple Marauders left. I think soO's done it. There is a 4th command center landed for ByuN, I believe, but there's only 6 attacking units on the field right now for ByuN, and the mineral income just isn't there. The CC dies. GG called.
Great game by soO.
soO needed that win so bad.
Now that game is unique to that map. We can't really recreate that because of the gold bases that you start out with. Remember, you get gold minerals right away. I'm not talking about the the gold bases in the middle of the map, but that was cool. Yeah,
that was a really good read by soO. These 1-1 Roach timings, they are coming back into popularity, and soO, he didn't really commit super hard on the aggression. He kept the upgrades going and kept expanding. His drone count was relatively high. And so the attack didn't have quite as much teeth as it normally would, but it was still just enough to break ByuN in that position. And I mean, for soO, I think even though it's only 1 map win, that's a big weight off your shoulders. I mean, he's been battling all day. And to finally get that first map win in front of a live audience, even for a veteran like soO, that means a lot.
I think it's definitely going to put him in a better headspace, especially after the way Oceanborn went.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, everybody, we're going to go to the final map with these two. Remember that Maru is waiting to face the winner because Cure was the first to escape from Group A. This is Game 3 with soO versus ByuN. The loser is out of the GSL Code S.
All right, soO's spawning in. This is the blue Zerg in the bottom left of the map. Down on the top right is the red Terran on Alcyone. It seems like we're going to have ByuN going for 2 barracks on the low ground. This is something that soO's kind of been struggling with all day today.
Yeah, Game 1, I think, also USA Florida Man.
Florida Man is here. Wow, look at that shirt.
Oh, from Las Vegas. That was
legendary.
One of my favorite GSL finals.
Legendary shirt. I'm a little bit jealous, actually.
I know. It's gotta be
I'm gonna
worth
stop casting, go down there and steal
millions
that
of
thing.
dollars. You might get that shirt could get stolen here, man.
Just watch this.
So
all the fans
the least safe
rapidly try to
place to
steal
bring
it.
that shirt was here. What was I gonna say?
I have no idea. Tasteless. We were talking about soO struggling a little bit with this 2 barracks opening. It's a pull first, by the way, for soO. This is different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyways, ByuN's gonna go for.
Oh, it's gas pool first. I was not paying close enough attention.
So we're gonna have that Reaper opening come out.
Yeah, this is a little different here from soO. What does he have in store?
Could it be some kind of a rush?
It's just gonna be really fast. He still has 2 on gas. I think it has to be some kind of rush.
Maybe Roaches?
How interesting. Now, ByuN in the past, he's the player that pioneered the 2 barracks on the low ground, Reaper opening in TVZ. For a long time in GSL, he was being asked in interviews what he thought about it. He said it was good enough to be the standard, to be the meta. He thought everyone else was lagging behind. Turns out he was right. Everyone does this build now, and nobody historically has defended all-ins with this build better than ByuN. He has been the king of defending all-ins with this build on the low ground, which naturally looks very vulnerable, and I wonder how hard soO's going to commit into the aggression. He's still gathered a lot of gas. I feel like this is going to be a timing attack, and the Reaper coming in, he didn't quite click the geyser, but he still saw the drones mining gas, so he should have a very good idea that aggression's coming.
Yeah, we're going to see this gas kick in a second here.
Yeah, what is soO going to do with it? He's already 100 plus gas.
Speed.
What is your plan, soO?
Well, keep in mind that the 3 Reapers can get surrounded more quickly here by Lings that have Ling speed earlier, right? you kind of imagine that you have a grace period where your Reapers can move. They can kind of be the boss in every engagement. And then when the Lings get faster, then you know, you can end up getting surrounded. So most players are kind of aware that they can try to control the game for a little bit, and then they got to run back. But in between that time, you know, it's a Marine making its an add-on. If he could surround these and maybe kill him, maybe there's something there to that.
Oh, he's going for it, yeah. Maybe the Lings, or the drones gathering gas was just to fake this out so that ByuN thought that Ling speed was not yet underway.
I think so.
Oh, that's smart.
So
soO even duping us a little bit with that move.
Well, I mean, you know, it's funny because I guess one of the rules in StarCraft at high levels is that they have to spend the money they get immediately or it doesn't make sense. But you could do a kind of economic red herring in your build order, which is like I'm not even going to use that gas for now, which is why he's been parked at 140 gas for a little bit here.
A really interesting opening from soO.
Okay, so it's going to be a Roach Warren. And, I mean, I don't know. I thought that strategy was pretty cool. I don't really know where the game goes from here.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I feel like we don't really have games where the Reapers actually get caught in the middle of the map and get killed without really getting drones. So I imagine there's a level of discomfort here for ByuN because he doesn't really know what's going on the map. He can't actually kill creep tumors. He doesn't know what the tech is. I mean, he can probably guess that there's a third base being taken there, but you don't even know that. He could be somewhere else. But ByuN's plan is basically the same build order that he would have had if he had kept the Reapers. Now, setting the Marines out on the map, this is actually dangerous because there is not going to be a medevac with this. So he is going to kill that Overlord. Is he going to go any further? He needs to get back, I would say, right away.
Yeah, instead, ByuN just kind of sitting in the middle of the map for now. Very bold, honestly, and this is something that's hard to do at a lower level because I think ByuN was just expecting soO to have made those Lings and nothing else. And so he has a lot of confidence that behind this soO is just droning up to have those Marines on the field. And behind it, soO, Lair Tech almost done, starting +1 Carapace. Building a good number of Roaches, but it's not going to be a big swell of Roaches like we saw in the previous game, at least not yet. There isn't a second evolution chamber coming yet either, so no 1-1 Roach timing in the cards. Really an interesting start to this game. I'm a little bit
it's
thrown
been very
off
different
by the feel. The Roaches also are out a lot faster than you would usually expect. Roach speeding becoming relatively quick as well. Everything feels a little bit faster here for Zerg, even though the economy isn't quite as good. It feels a little bit faster in terms of tech because of that early gas. That 140 gas, even though it was banked and wasn't spent right away, it's kicking in a little bit now. We already have soO going up to 5 geysers too, and I think ByuN is actually leaning towards this timing right now. Is soO going to have enough? I know he has Roaches, he's morphing some Ravagers, but is it enough Roaches? Only 9 on the field. That is a lot of Marines. These Queens, they got to be very careful.
He's continuing to stream units down here. He's going to have 1 tank, although I guess he's going to go for a drop and send the tank back. And this is a map where it's pretty easy to just slide into the main base. But it's like so common that people just sort of preempt it. Like we saw the Spore crawler come down there.
I love the ground Carapace upgrade timing, by the way, for soO. Just completely preempting the +1 infantry attack so that the Roaches have so much more staying power against the Marines.
So it's been a quiet early game, especially from ByuN. But I think he's being smart in that he doesn't want to ever get into a position where he just kind of overextends here and doesn't play this right.
Yeah, and soO is looking a lot more like game number 1 with the way he's building this. He's going for the Infestation Pit and Baneling Nest at the same timing, relatively, that he did in game number 1.
These are good moves here by ByuN to open up the rocks down here. Now, he does not have enough with 2 medevacs to really fight anything on the ground. But, look, I mean, there's a very kind of standard unit comp that's being built here by ByuN. I mean, he's going to try to win this in a classic TVZ fashion with bio and tanks with medevacs kind of pushing out and shutting down opportunities.
Yeah, and this might be a more classical 2-2 push coming in from ByuN, even with +1 vehicle weapons for those siege tanks. And soO, on the flip side, he's going for the really fast hive. It's not quite as quick as some of the other Zergs that we've seen, both at Dallas and also in some of these online cups. But given the pace of this game, it still feels pretty quick. I mean, he's doing this off the back of about 30 roaches. And so my question is, once these builds eventually line up, when they converge, and ByuN has 2-2, and he's going for this timing attack through the center of the map, if that is the way he decides to play, how is that going to scale against the timing of soO's hive tech? Should soO go for Vipers? Should he go for Ultras? How is that going to play? Because those timings, they get really tricky, and it's the kind of thing in StarCraft 2 that can kind of set a game on its head in just a couple of different seconds, you know? I mean, those Ultras popping or Ultra armor upgrade finishing a couple of seconds late could just be a disaster for soO defensively. Should ByuN go for that push? But I don't think ByuN's going for that push. He's throwing down 2 more command centers. He's trying to play the same style as game number 1, I think.
Yeah, I think if it's not broken, don't fix it. To be honest, even though it was a really scary position mid-game in game 1, I think it was so easy in the late game. He's like, oh, he just sort of, you know, he got stuck.
Yeah, that is a smart read. It's not really a ByuN-esque move, if I'm being honest. It's not really his strength as a player, but he is absolutely playing the opponent, going for this instead. And let's see if soO can correct the mistakes that kind of cursed him a little bit there in game number 1. I mean, he was vexed trying to play that late game ZVT. He found himself in a winning position and just was not able to close it out. He could never really stop ByuN from growing on his side of the map. Can never go for that game-ending blow despite having, at some stage, a 12,000 resource advantage in terms of bank, if not more. And I'm hoping he can change it. Oh, man, ByuN, what a cool snipe coming in.
Yeah, just kind of comes in there, guns him down, backs up, doesn't want to be overextended. Both sides are destroying the rocks on the map, kind of opening this up a little bit more. We're sort of ramping up to a climax here as you know, Zerg is maxed out and Terran is now about to be maxed out and throwing down multiple command centers to make orbitals.
Yeah, and soO's playing a little bit more of a classic ZVT style with later Ultralisk Cavern. Instead, he's just going to max, getting Adrenal, getting +3 Carapace. And I think that once this army finishes with its upgrades, oh, for a second, I don't know what I saw. For some reason, I thought there was a fungal that was about to pop on those. I think it was the bile on the rocks or something. They just completely threw me for a loop. But no infestors on the field just yet. I would love to see soO try to pair that up here with the bile or potentially with a Viper's Blinding Cloud once the engagement happens. But instead, it's just going to be a relatively low-tech army assisted by the Vipers. And soO, although he's maxed, doesn't seem like he really has the confidence to try and breach any of his positions. But once ByuN gets this 5th command center up and running, that's when the game gets really scary for the Zerg. And ByuN does this almost better than anybody else with the harassment options like this. Double Medivacs just forcing soO to bring the forces back as ByuN just entrenches himself on the top side of the map. soO has to be really careful not to let ByuN buy all the time that he wants.
Oh my god, did he just know it wasn't going to blow up?
9 HP.
No, I'm fine. Well, I mean, look. As
Look
much
at
as
depots.
as much as we ragged on soO in the late game, I will say he does not have any problem getting to the point where he's maxed out.
No, he's navigated this game really well.
He clearly knows what to make and where to go and what to preempt. And so this is going to be soO's redemption arc if he can win this.
The scary thing for me is that he isn't making any big moves to try and at least put some pressure on the 5th base of ByuN. ByuN just is setting that 5th base up effectively for free. He's going to have something like 6 or 7, maybe even 8 extra command centers on the map to start clugging. He's going
to be clugging. I've never tried clugging. I hope it doesn't hurt.
I don't know what it is with me and casting, just making up random words, but he's going to be clogging up all these different avenues of attack, especially on a map like Alcyone, which plays a lot better in terms of split map than even Oceanborn does. I mean, you see these rocks, you see this arc that the Observer is giving us with the supply depot walls, with a mineral wall on the right side, with the siege tank arc being established here between the 3rd and the 4th base. It is just so hard to attack into here as Zerg, and it seems like soO is maybe even just going to go for the throat the way he's positioning his army. He's not going for that 5th command center. And I like that he is proactively taking the expansions in the center of the map, on ByuN's side of the map, because he knows it's going to another exhaust game. But I feel like that's not going to be enough for soO if he wants to win this one. He has to make some bigger plays than he did in game number 1. Because as ByuN established in game number 1, yeah, you can mine his side of the map, but ByuN will literally push into your 4th base and start mining it if the game goes that way.
Well, there's, I think, more map to be taken here for the Zerg. And this, every map is different, right? So we have a position where, like, in game 1, it really did kind of come down to the 2 bases on the Terran side, and, like, can he keep the Zerg punished for mining from that base while controlling his own base? There's, like, enough map here that I feel like soO can actually get way out of hand here. Like, way out of hand, and it's going to be really tough for Terran to actually clean up multiple spots on the map.
That could be the case. I feel like he's going to need to attack something at some point. You got to leverage this bank. It's almost 12K resources again. I think you got to try and find some trades. It's just hard as soO right now in the booth to try and make that call. And even then, I don't know if it's the right call. It's just the way that me looking at the game, I feel like it should be. But it is really hard to attack in positions like this one with a planetary, with the siege tanks, with a ghost all behind him. I mean, ByuN is truly playing the most turtle TVZ. This is even beyond what Maru would do at a TVZ, it feels.
Yeah, and not very many drops. I mean, he's going to push out to the bases that are literally next door to his, but there's nothing too crazy about that, right? Neural Parasite's about to finish. And, again, it mirrors a lot of the ideas of game 1, but I feel like the position fundamentally has more strength here from soO. Now, that doesn't mean that soO can't mess this up by just having bad engages and not knowing, what to hit with what and where.
I'm trying to wonder what soO's win condition is from this position, because if ByuN just continues to grow into the top left, he even has a command center getting ready to float over to the top left base.
Here's what I got to point out. What is the number where you attack in? This is what feels weird about it.
Right, that's how I feel.
We're at 11K minerals. We just hit 5K gas. He's attacking in, so I'm not even trying to be mean here. I really mean this. Like, if you want to switch into ultras or broodlords, is there like a number where you're like, oh, I can make exactly 12 with this? I mean, is there something like that? Because I do feel like he gets to this point and it's kind of like the dog that caught the car or something.
I feel like it almost overcomplicates the game because he's not putting enough pressure on the Terran. ByuN can afford to go for double drops like this and not really fear the counterattack that much. The fact that we still have Roach Ravager on the field is just so different in a ZVT. It almost feels like soO has hit a wall. And yeah, the bank is good. The position is good. Some of these hatcheries are getting taken out, but that's natural when you're expanding as rapidly as soO is. There just hasn't been a follow-up yet, and oftentimes, okay, another nice catch here for soO. But I look at this game, and I feel like soO should be attacking into the 5th base. He should find some avenue of attack.
Something's wrong. I mean, you can't sit and accumulate for this long. And I don't, I mean, as an example, like, would it have been worth it to try to do Niduses in a couple spots, or I mean, drops aren't, I think, that great in this position, but I mean, anything, The idea is that you have so many minerals and so many gas that you throw your stuff into a spot, you trade, maybe even inefficiently, and because you have so many larva banks, you can remax out. And then you might do that another time. And the idea is that the Terran, because of the way they produce, they can't ever catch up, and you sort of flatten the position. That's how you deal with the Terran who just turtles. So he's going to come in here. He is most certainly throwing everything in here. He's also not macroing while he does this. He does it after the fight. We see the spending go up as he runs away, which is usually a bad sign. He's going to make about 120 lings with 2 Ultralisks, which I assume are going to all be Banelings.
Maybe. I'm not sure. He might have killed enough on the ground that he feels like he can just do this crackling remax and basically just run over the siege tanks and really mitigate the splash damage. That could be a really good play for soO if he tries to go for it, especially paired up with those 2 ultras. I would love to see him get more active with these units. Again, ByuN not max, only a 3K resource bank, but he's slowly taking his side of the map. If ByuN is able to secure all these extra expansions, again, I feel like the late game is just going to favor Terra in this position. But soO, he's getting a lot more aggressive this time, getting a good catch again. Overseer goes down, so those ghosts will survive, but Morlings flooding in. They're surrounding the siege tanks. It's a pretty big win for soO. He's killing a lot of critical units. I feel like he has to like put the pedal to the metal though, you know? Just keep remaxing and keep attacking.
Okay, so he does it again. Terran's ahead in supply now, but it doesn't really matter. But let's watch this moment right now. 145 supply.
Well, he has no larva left. He just made another round of lanes.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Well, that's another
it's
issue.
It's a part of the problem,
burn it
though,
yeah.
right?
I actually, you know, it's so funny. I'm so used to people just having larva at this moment. But you're right. He spent it all on Lings. So he doesn't even have a way to spend this. And now he's kind of wobbling at like 168 supply. Terran is fine. There's nothing really wrong per se that Terran's doing. ByuN is actually moved into the bottom right too.
Yeah, soon needs to start making some plays, I think. But the ghost count's getting so huge.
But I don't understand, why would you make mass Lings right after that attack? Like when we saw 120 Lings made earlier.
Now oh, the Bailey connection's really good on the ghosts. A big chunk of them went down. Maybe 8 or 9 ghosts fall right there. That's a big win for soO.
But you can see Terran just, the moment that camera pulled away, you heard the command center lift off. It's going to float to the base.
Yeah.
He's going to expand again. There were 3 workers killed in that attack, so he just right-clicks the units away. Now, they can come in and attack again, but, you know, you're going to be in range of a lot of Terran stuff that I think Terran's probably happy with this situation for now. They're probably fine playing cat and mouse outside this position.
soO does have winning chances, though. If he's able to continuously remax the way that he's doing, so I feel like there are winning chances, especially if ByuN moves forward like this. A fungal could be huge. First fungal whiffs, second fungal also whiffs. Unlucky there for soO, and now the Link's going to try and get us around. ByuN not picking up, so he's going to lose a couple of ghosts at least. And Blinding Cloud on the Siege Tanks, he might actually break this position, Tasteless.
Yeah, he's going to come in here and hit this pretty hard.
Oh, this is a big win for soO, man. He's taking out the Siege Tanks. This expansion almost certainly going to fall. Finally, ByuN overextends and soO pulls the trigger. The planetary goes down. ByuN is reset. Back to 5 bases. And there's the Corruptors. The Corruptors are enough to deal with the Liberators right now. ByuN basically threw away all of the ghosts in the last couple of minutes. He had 20+ ghosts.
I don't know why ByuN pushed that.
I mean, soO was waiting so patiently, and we were faulting him for being patient, but ByuN finally did overextend. And maybe ByuN doesn't do that, and maybe soO's struggling, but the way this game went, that was a huge win for soO. And now ByuN, 400 gas in the bank, 160 supply. If there's a time for soO to remax and go for another attack, I feel like it's right now, Tasteless. And he's morphing in more Banelings, more Ultras are coming in. I feel like that engagement basically cracked this game open.
I think you're right.
I'm just really hoping
I think ByuN
that
overextended in a way that was unforgivable, and should have just tried to hold that gold base and wait for an overextension there. Now he's going to refill the base that he lost. A lot of mules are going to land down here.
Oh, but it's not a planetary, and soO is pivoting entirely back to this right side of the map to try and take down this expansion. He still has 12 Corruptors, which should be plenty enough to deal with those Liberators.
I feel like every tank from every game of StarCraft is waiting at that base. Like, it's actually crazy. And let's see, can he get in here? He backs away.
That is a scary angle to attack into. I wouldn't even mind if soO pivoted onto the top left side and tried to take that down, because this is...
I feel like you see that much defense and you just attack anywhere else.
Oh, is he going to go for the Neural Parasite? Oh, it gets scanned. You see, you can tell that soO really wants to make a big play happen right now.
Well, I feel like you have one shot and he's already shown it, right? He kind of showed his hand with the investors. I hope we forget about these. Slip back out.
Yeah, now he's setting his eyes, or at least he thought he was, on the top left, but ByuN leveraging some pressure over here in the bottom right corner is going to force soO back. And again, this is a tough position to be in as Zerg. I mean, look at that army. It's Ghost Mech, and Ghost Mech is arguably the strongest composition in StarCraft 2, in my opinion. Of all the matchups, I mean, Ghost Mech TVZ is just absolutely insane.
So the upper left base, oh, hold on. Big attacks happening here. Zerg's going to try to push in. Yep, a great fungal comes down and hits here. The Corruptors are going to cruise through. Another great fungal on the tanks, but not able to really punish with it. And soO comes out empty-handed. He's going to have to retreat. He's going to lose this position down here in the bottom right. Now, he's got a lot of gas. Okay, he's got 5K gas. He has 7K minerals. He's going to max out. It's going to be Lings, Ultras, and Banes again. But, you know, the Terran's reach is getting a little bit bigger here. And you know, there's something to the fact that we're kind of seeing players butt heads on the same side of the map that does not look like a healthy ZVT to me. I feel like a healthy, from the Zerg's perspective, I mean, a healthy ZVT is supposed to look like the Zerg is hitting everywhere where the Terran's army isn't, and then barely holding off attacks. I almost feel like soO stays in kind of a Roach Ravager mindset, where it's like, I'm going to Hulk smash this position over and over. He's like doing it with this army, and I feel like there's a lot of moments it's not the right time. Now, if ByuN sets up and is overexposed here, then that could work. I mean, this could happen right now. Let's see.
All right, soO coming in again. Corruptors are going to take down the Liberators. soO trying to get the Fungals, but no, the EMP is huge on the Infestors. One more high-energy Infestor gets taken out by the Liberator. Nice spark targeting there by ByuN. And the engagement, it is going to go pretty even. The Ultras are standing strong right now, attacking the army. Oh, there's even more Ultras over here by the gold base. soO somehow butted heads with a max Ghost Mech army. It came out on top. ByuN has no gas left in the bank. He's having to remax on Marines now, Tasteless.
This is probably going to be game. The amount of gas that was spent here and the fact that soO has both a healthy amount of gas and minerals. The supply for ByuN is abysmal. I think he is about to tap out. There's no way.
That was an insane engagement from soO. I mean, ByuN, he did get the EMP off, but soO just had so much army coming over on the top side that he overwhelmed ByuN. ByuN maybe a little bit overconfident with the way the game was going. If he continued to play defensively back at home, maybe he could have continued to exhaust the Zerg, but soO in game number 1, patience, it felt like it was his kryptonite. Here in game number 3, he is getting rewarded. ByuN overextending and soO taking the miracle engagement twice.
I think that ByuN wanted to get that win from game 1 here again in game 3, but you know, the map, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit harder, I think, to pull this kind of stuff off, right? Here we have a lot more bases that are in the middle that are shared. But how much more can ByuN get in here? God, his gas income is awful. Yeah, I feel like, assuming that the top left just mines out, I think if we just see more and more hits over here, that's all it's going to take. Here come the Infestors.
Oh, what a money fungal. Ghosts and Bio and Siege all get caught. Ultras continuing to stream, and another fungal on top of the Bio. GG, and soO has redeemed himself here in game number 3. In honestly a miraculous fashion, considering the way that game was going.
That was wild. I got to say, even, you know, halfway through the series, this is like still an upset to me. I'm like,
yeah,
what?
I mean, it had all the echoes of game 1 soO, getting into an incredible position against ByuN and just being a little bit too patient, and ByuN surviving in times of weakness and growing into a monster that soO's army just could not handle. But here in game number 3, ByuN a little bit antsy, and soO, this time, his patience, it was rewarded. I mean, ByuN fell into the trap of attacking into him, and soO absolutely seized the moment. But now he's going to go to the winner's match, Tasteless. He's going to have to go against the GOAT of late-game TVZ.
The rematch, it's going to be versus Maru. soO not exactly looking thrilled. Good luck to him. That best of 3 is coming up right after this.
Believe it when I say it. It's about to get real, baby. Are you ready to go? Going crazy, yo. I'm about to pop bottles, get drunk, party with models. You better hold on tight. I'm taking over the world. It's about to go down tonight. Let me see you dance. Hit me, you don't wanna see my fit. It's about to go down, it's about to get real.